Let me tell you a little about myself and my photographs. My photographs are seen in galleries and museums. Here you see me standing in front of a banner for the 2018 group show that took place at the Queen's Botanical Garden. The show consisted of many different interpretations of what the botanical world means, from food production to flowers. My photograph is the dark pink one at the right top of the screen. The photograph is called Dahlia, Farmer's Market, and it was photographed at a farmer's market in New York. It is also the picture that's behind me, one of the three. My photographs are also purchased for office spaces, public spaces, and personal spaces. This is one of the photographs of the cherry blossom trees in the New York Botanical Garden that I made in 2017. I went to the client's home and together we decided on the size of the picture based on the preferences and the proportions of the room and furniture. It ended up being 6 feet by 4 feet, which is very big, actually mural size, but it ended up looking incredible. I love to photograph nature, and I especially love to photograph the changing flora at the New York Botanical Garden. Honestly, the diversity of their planting, the care taken to maintain the grounds, and the accessibility to all kinds of visitors is comparable to none. There is always something to see, whether you look down or up. I go there sometimes just to walk, and sometimes with a photographic plan. All the photographs that you will see are taken by me, and I have researched the plant information on the New York Botanical website. Spring is a time of possibilities and expectations. Bulbs planted in the fall, like daffodils and tulips, and my favorite, allium, break through in early spring. Homeowners can't wait for the opening of gardening centers, which are bursting with color and beckon the planting of impatiens, geraniums, pansies, and elephant ears. May is the time for graduations from high school, college, and graduate schools. See the cherry blossoms on the top right? How many of you have grandchildren that graduated an academic institution this year, or perhaps even children? And in April every year, the New York Botanical Garden celebrates Earth Day. The earth is carried throughout the garden for all the visitors to admire and ponder its importance. Spring flowers usually start to bloom in April and continue through May. This is my favorite time of year to photograph flowers. How many of you have a favorite flower that blooms in the spring? I know Judy does. This year, the blooms have lasted longer than usual. The warm winter got things started early, but the cool, overcast April helped to prolong the blooms. Cherry blossoms. They are many flowering cherry trees planted in the New York Botanical Gardens among the spruces, the pines, and the firs. Many have grown there for decades, complementing the evergreen foliage of the surrounding conifers. Some of the species of the New York Botanical Gardens are quite large, and that is a testament to their age. When we see cherry blossoms, we all think of the arrival of spring. Japanese flowering cherries, known as sakura in Japan, are celebrated for their display of pink or white flowers, which are in bloom in the early spring. A traditional fixture of Japanese landscapes, Flowering cherry trees exist as hundreds of different hybrid trees. The Yoshiro cherry trees are a hybrid of two Japanese species. These trees are so breathtaking that every year in the spring, usually April, the flowering of these trees are celebrated in Japan and Washington, D.C. in an annual festival. I love photographing cherry blossoms. To me, they are ephemeral. As you see, I took pictures of them in the rain. The rain droplets intensify the delicate quality of the petals. Sometimes they remind me of the tutus of little young ballerinas. But they are also very tricky to photograph because the petals are so fragile. If the weather is warm or windy, an individual cherry tree may only flower for a few days before its petals drift to the ground. And now for a bit of science. Cherry trees are a member of the genus Prunus. Prunus are the flowering trees that yield many of our favorite single-seeded stone fruits. Prunus is the genus of cherries and also is the genus of plums, peaches, apricots, nectarines, and almonds. In early April, we are also sure to see daffodils in bloom. Although this year, because of the cool weather, they bloomed very late. I enjoy taking pictures of daffodils because they grow in groups. I have to say it, there's no social distancing here. They love to be together and they reproduce every year. The yellow petals to me seem to smile and they say spring is here. Daffodils are bulbs, are planted as bulbs that return to flower year after year, unless a rabbit or other garden animal has found its way to eat the bulb. At the New York Botanical Garden, the planting of daffodils began on Daffodil Hill in the 1920s. The descendants of these original bulbs, according to the New York Botanical Garden, still flower every April. Since 2015, they have planted 400,000 new bulbs on Daffodil Hill. For those of you who have seen them, you know that they end up looking like a sea of flowers. At peak bloom, these daffodils stretch in all directions as far as the eye can see. Another beautiful planting of the spring is the azaleas and rhododendrons. They are very, very beautiful and easy on the eye. These bushes usually bloom at the same time as the cherry blossoms. In Japan, the abundance of purple, pink, orange, and yellow blooms are also celebrated in a national holiday. They were in bloom last year at the exact same time as the cherry blossoms. And that's when I took these pictures. Their flowers often last several weeks. Shade tolerant, rhododendrons prefer living near or under trees. I love the intense color of the rhodi flower and how delicate each bloom is. Of course, in the spring, we also witness the reemergence of tulips and pansies. But the vast majority of visitors to the New York Botanical Garden in the spring are there because they want to see the star saucer magnolias. The New York Botanical Garden claims that botanists call these flowers precocious because they flower before their leaves emerge. The saucer magnolias range from pure white to dark purple. The saucer magnolias are indeed an explosion. I love to photograph them because to me, the petals are always dancing. These magnolia flowers are the star magnolia, but in a moment, I will also just show you the plain star magnolias. These are the star saucer magnolias. After more than a century of growth, the oldest magnolias in the New York Botanical Garden collection were planted in the early 1900s. These specimen magnolia trees are truly like looking at history. And when they are in bloom, they become an outdoor room, fragrant and full of pink, purplish, and white flowers. Visitors love to linger beneath the trees and breathe the fragrance of their blooms. So these are the plain saucer magnolias, which are generally very, very white, but they can range from pure white to dark purple. To extend the bloom season, the New York Botanical Garden has planted nearly 50 different varieties of Japanese flowering cherry trees and Japanese flowering apricots across the garden. Different trees bloom at slightly different times, so no visitors will experience the same blooms from week to week. Lastly, my favorite spring bulb is the allium. These balls on a stick are sometimes referred to as onion bulbs. They are planted in the fall as a bulb, and they bloom in late spring. They are usually 6 inches in diameter and have an architectural presence. Their name, allium, is very hard for me to pronounce, but they are my favorite bulbs, and their color is always so intense. Judy has a couple of these in her garden. I hope you've enjoyed our short spring walk through the perennials, the annuals, the flowers, the bushes, and the trees of the New York Botanical Garden. I wanted to mention that all the photographs that you saw this afternoon were not only taken by me over the last 4 years, but they are unaltered. I didn't Photoshop or change anything that I saw or that you have seen through technical means, except to record the moment with my camera and then show them to you like this. I hope that the photographs brought some color into your homes. I also hope that it made you feel the exuberance that spring always brings to me. Maybe also the pictures reminded you of a walk you took with Judy to the New York Botanical Garden, or of your favorite walk in another garden. I'm also looking forward to hearing which was your favorite flower or photograph and why. But for now, I'm going to leave you for a few minutes to enjoy the photographs and the music, and we'll meet again after the slideshow is over. Enjoy.